وَأَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا كَمَاءٍ أَنْزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ فَأَصْبَحَ هَشِيمًا تَذْرُوهُ الرِّيَاحُ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا. Suratul-Kahfi, Surah number 8, Ayat number 45. Once again, we are at a very important juncture. We have just completed story number 2 and we are beginning message number 3. So this is a short message and then we'll have story number 3. So the construct, if you remember, story number 2 also started وَأَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ, and there it was مَثَلًا رَجُلَيْنِ, and here it is the مَثَلَ al-hayati dunya. And because of this, there is a difference in how we translate this. I'm surprised how both the places have been translated similarly by the scholars or translators, which the grammar does not allow us to do. Because masala al-hayati ad-dunya is an idafa construct where hayati and dunya are mawsuf sifa, noun adjective. So the example of the worldly life is an okay translation over here. But the example of two men over there was not correct, and I have explained there what the correct translation was, and we have discussed that. It's in verse number 32. You can check that once again. Anyway, and Zoraba I have explained so many times now, so I'll not explain that. So suffices for us to understand that in this case, so sort of give them a powerful example. So that is intended wa idrib, wadrib, and strike lahum for them. Mathala, because it is an idafa construct, and al-hayati ad-dunya. So this cannot be translated the life of the world. That would indicate hayati, al-hayati and ad-dunya being again an idafa construct, which it is not. So that is also surprising. The example of the life of the world is an absolutely, from a grammatical point of view, wrong translation. Rather, it should be the example of the worldly life, right? Because that is mawsuf sifa, that is connected together, and then mathala and al-hayati ad-dunya, that mathala on one side and al-hayati ad-dunya on the other side combined, that forms the idafa construct. So that is what it is. You can call it a connected idafa construct, not really in that sense, but the first part, and then there is the of, and the second and the third parts are the mawsuf sifa, the adjective is translated first. The example of the worldly life, ad-dunya, worldly, hayati, life, the worldly life. So that is it. The mathala al-hayati ad-dunya, mathala al-hayati ad-dunya, the example of the worldly life, and strike for them the example of the worldly life. Kama in, like some water, some sort of water. It cannot be like water because that would be al-ma'i. Ma is water in Arabic. Some water. Anzalnahu, which we send down. So we sent it down. Anzalna, we send down. Who is it? But we can, in the running translation, instead of breaking like that, like some water, we sent down it. This is the running translation. It is being, prefixed, and it references back like some water which we send down. Perfectly all right, and in fact better in the English language. Minas samai, from the atmosphere. Sama, we want to keep it as close as to the translation or the concept of dimension as possible, and so we avoid the translation as translating as heaven or sky, which is absolutely incorrect. And we have explained when in a previous occurrence the atmospheric dimension and all those things. So I've explained that. So here we are not repeating that entire discussion, and since it's a running translation, if we have to read this end to end, I've already explained that, so I'm not repeating that, which we send down from the atmosphere. Then it says for ikhtalata, then mixed bihi, with it, mixed with it. And what mixed with it? Nabatu, that is the subject. So the plant kingdom, I mean, a lot of translations use different words. I avoid that, and I think it refers to the plant kingdom as a whole. And here again, so time and again we go back to the discussions of physics and chemistry, in this case biology. So the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, right? So that in that sense, the classification of the kingdoms at that level. So the entire plant kingdom is what is being referenced over here. Then the plant kingdom, okay, nabatu al-ardi, so that's in the construct. Then the plant kingdom of the earth mixed with it. Fa is then ikhtalata, mixed, bihi, with it. And I've additionally put in a bracket, and we'll probably come back to it a little later. First, let me proceed with fa asbaha. Then, and then, I mean, and is sort of, I have added, though it's not there. Then asbaha, it became what? Now here, if you see, it is not feasible to incorporate the secondary meaning of dawn or morning, because this plant kingdom, this is not happening in a day and night cycle, in a night and day cycle. That's not how it's functioning. It takes time. Anyway, asbaha, and then it became, and is a sort of pillar, so that we are able to represent the sequencing, though fa is sufficient, but the fa will not give that clarity in the English language. In the Arabic, it's absolutely fine. And then it became hashiman, fragile, sharp. So what happens? It becomes dried up and it scatters. And that's exactly what is being mentioned. Tazruhu ariyahu. Tazruhu ariyahu. So tazruhu, scatter it, and she scatters it, it scatters it. It is referencing ariyahu, the wind, the winds. The winds. Winds is feminine, by the way, in the Arabic language. That is why it's tazuru, not yadru. Okay. So what is it now? Then it became fragile shaft. Ariyahu is in the plural form. The winds scatter it. It is referencing the fragile shaft. But again, in the English language, we don't break it down like that. And then it became fragile shaft, that the wind scatter. Perfectly okay, in fact, better representation in the English language. Instead of it became fragile shaft, the wind scatter it, that's childish translation. So then it became fragile shaft and the winds scattered, so that the winds scatter. That's much better. Just one more point. The rain falls and it becomes dry, fragile shaft. No, it doesn't. That dry stubble, hay, it takes time. What is it essentially referring to is phases. So when the water falls, what is happening is the plant kingdom, the previous fragile shaft, or the remains post the harvesting, they get mixed with it, or if we sow seeds, the seeds of the plant kingdom, various types of plants get mixed with it in the rain. That rain is required, and then and grew by the command of Allah, and Allah helps them to grow as well, and grew by the command of Allah. Again, the connotation of command with respect to the dimension, we are again trying to bring about over here. We're trying to incorporate that. It's not easy, but I have tried to do that, and grew by the command of Allah. After the growth, what happens? After the harvesting has been done, and then it became fragile shaft. So the remnants, whatever is the non-edible part, so to say, that the winds scatter. Okay, so full cycle, it's what is giving. Okay, and then wakana Allahu wa, and kana is was, but in this context, whenever the word Allah comes in a sentence, we don't translate was. It's not appropriate. So we translate it in a past tense, but sort of make it continuous. And Allah has always been. And instead of Allah is the doer, obviously, in the sentence. And Allah has always been ala, upon, kulli, every, shay'in, thing. Muqtadiran is ism fa'il, the doer pattern, the one who does pattern, the omnipotent one. وَقَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا. وَقَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا. And Allah has always been, instead of was, has always been. We could use is also. That's also a way to represent kana. When the word Allah comes, that's one of the ways it is done. But has always been is better. It sort of preserves the past tense connotation as well, and it drags into the present as well. And Allah has always been upon everything, the omnipotent one, full control, the omnipotent one. I think that's it then. I have tried my best to explain. Now, this is the message. Now, what is the analogy? Exactly, and why is this message even being given? And we know, I have explained how we are at this juncture where story number 2 now ends. Story number 1 was the story about the companions of the cave. Story number 2 was the two men, the rich man and the poor man, Rajulaini, the two men. And this is message number 2. Sorry, message number 3. Introductory message, then intermediary message 1, intermediary message 2. So message number 3 overall. So it's talking about, through this analogy, it's telling us to reflect about our own life as well. That's what happens, right? So we'll get into more details as we proceed with the sessions, and if required, I'll elaborate on it in the next session as well. But as of now, we are good with it. I have tried to explain some of the things which are important and some of the mistakes that we should avoid when trying to translate. I have given you a number of examples. I have given a cross-reference with verse number 32, where it was masalan rajulaini, and here it is masala al-hayati ad-dunya. That is one example. And then kama in, that is another example. And asbaha, the second, is difficult to incorporate. Asama, we have incorporated already, and I've explained kana, and then the brackets I've also explained as well. So that's it with this verse. We'll read one more time. وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا كَمَاءٍ أَنْزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ فَأَصْبَحَ حَشِيمًا تَذْرُوهُ الرِّيَاحُ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا. And strike for them the example of the worldly life, like some water which we send down from the atmosphere. Then the plant kingdom of the earth mixed with it and grew by the command of Allah. And then it became fragile, sharp, that the winds scatter. And Allah has always been upon everything, the omnipotent one.